for that. All right. There we are.
We're live?
We're live. We're live!
Oh, boy.
Here we are. Something different. This is real different for what we typically do. Let me slide down a little bit there. Yeah. How are you guys?
Was that directed towards us?
That's towards you. Yeah, we're chatting tonight. We're chatting tonight.
Oh.
So yeah.
I'm grateful that Zormir gets to live an extra week.
Yeah. I'm just dandy.
7 more days, Z.
7
more days.
We'll have 14 more days.
No, 14. We will, and that is a note to the
14. We won't be here next week.
We won't be here next week on the 23rd. I will be out of town on business.
I won't be here the week after.
Yeah, unfortunately, we got to move on that. So you'll have to let me know what your plans are.
I'll be honing the blade up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you got some travel time in there. Thank you, Four Gathers, for the follow. Welcome to the dungeon. We are happy you're here. Not going to be much campaigning tonight. We're going to chat about what's been going on and some exciting news and everything. But yeah, so
News?
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a moment. I gotta just make sure my notes. It's been 2 years. And for a lot of us, it doesn't seem like that long. Like, it's a huge accomplishment that the fact that the group has stayed together and we've played almost every week for 2 years. Like, we don't miss very many, minus holidays and some of the travel stuff. But
we're like the USPS through rain and snow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have an episode for tonight, but we're like 20 episodes away from 100 episodes, and that's huge.
Are we really? Dang.
Yeah. I mean, we're really moving forward, and tonight we just community while you're out there, and I'll remind you as we go. If you got any questions, feel free to just ask away. Thanks for those bits, Cuddles. Always appreciate King Cuddles helping us out in the community there, and definitely get a shout out to him. Also a fellow streamer there.
Oh, so tricky. The DM is my brother-in-law.
Yeah, we're gonna go through that. So yeah, that was one of the things I want to do. So that's a great place. Zach Dynamite, thank you for that sub. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's go through. We've never really introduced people on this. We just kind of really get into it. So I'll kind of start with myself, and then we'll move through the group here. Unfortunately, Grayson isn't with us tonight. So we'll get him the next time he's back, for sure. So most people know me as...
I'm sure it's very angsty and full of... It's very dark and gothic-like.
So most people know me as Dress. In fact, if I go to Michigan, there's a group of people up there that I don't even think know my real name. But that's fine. I've been DMing, I think, 3 years now, after a stint through the Satanic Panic when I was a kid, which is a whole nother show. We should do a show just on that. I've talked to these guys about it a bunch of times. Rob definitely, Arlo definitely remembers it. But yeah, Chris is my actual name, but I'll answer to about anything. So... Yeah. I actually work in metrology along with a couple of these other guys. So we measure things for a living. So numbers, statistics, and things are right up our alley. So it's definitely a neat thing. But hey, Blaylock, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is also Chris. I've only been playing D&D for a little over about almost 3 years. It was I played with Mr. Draston here for a bit. My first introduction to tabletop RPGs was back when I was first married, and the DM tried banging my wife, and then I said, that's you know what? I think I'm just gonna step away from this whole endeavor for a bit. And but I've always been a fan. I'm a big fantasy nerd. I love your big epic fantasies like your Wheel of Time. You may have noticed a few hints in there in what we've introduced with Drakenwald, with the from the Wheel of Time series, Sword of Truth. I mean, Brandon Sanderson's a new favorite now. I just love the universes. Now it's just me and MMOs and Final Fantasy and D&D. I DM occasionally when I can spare the time, because that's very enjoyable. But I really like actually playing as a player too.
Yeah, that man, and we work together actually. So
yes,
that's how we met.
We do work together.
So,
yep. I heard that from a friend or another colleague who says, Draston here. He plays. He does. He's a big gamer as well, and so I reached out to him. I was like, "So I hear you do a little gaming." Yeah.
Now it's an empire.
Yeah. So now, then Apple Gamers was born, and so we're just a bunch of metrology nerds who also love D&D and all things gaming. So we're like two peas in a pod.
And that leads us into my brother-in-law, who made the mistake of marrying my sister, Arlo.
That's 32 years.
Yeah. I used to have to go on their dates when they were dating.
And you made a lot of money.
Why?
I did. I was paid off very well.
Very well.
Because that was back in the late 80s. Yeah, so it was like the protection so that nothing happened. I was like a living condom.
So when we were dating, I was fresh out of the army. I was stationed in Germany, and so I came home and I met Dawn, and we started dating. And Chris and Dawn's mom was like, you know, he's been around. He's been to Germany. And so,
that's slanderous Germany.
Yeah, so there was no trust there. So Chris had to go with us, and
that's right.
Everything we did. But you know what? When Chris and Mike grew up, then it's like, oh hell, you can do whatever you want. We don't care, So it's sad.
Out of everyone here, so our group gets together once a year to do an in-person, because this is all good and we love our community. Our community is the best. But like there's times we need to like retract from that and do the old classic sitting in a basement. But there's a few nuances that come. Yeah, there's a few nuances that comes with a bunch of guys in the basement. And Rob actually got to experience that firsthand at a very early age, because my room was what was that, 4x8?
I bet if it was 5 foot, you were crazy. 5 by 5.
And we used to sit there and play Super Nintendo, and like it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, we had the fan really, on circulating.
Yeah, fanboy. It was pretty much a Harry Potter room. Like it was a really small house that we grew up in. So
that couldn't have been more than a 15-inch TV that we were playing on.
It was 13. It was 13. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So back in the days, man, that was good.
For the 13-inch TV, it's bigger than half these 50-inch TVs.
It was. It was.
So I've been part of the family for quite a while, and I played a little bit. I was introduced when I was a young kid, but really just never caught on, because no excuses, but I'm only a child, so I don't have really anybody to play with when you live in a trailer court. So it was up in here until about 4 or 5 years ago that got into with Chris and playing and got the interest. And so he just called me one day, because finally had a stable job hour-wise, and asked me if I wanted to play, and I'm like, jeez, I'm gonna be like so green. I still feel like I am green. Grayson is, Grayson's the rock of this group when it comes to being able to that RP between him and Blaylock. It's just like, wow, I think this group would have been really boring if those two aren't with us. And they can keep storyline straight. Me, I'm struggling with having the drive open and going, okay, well, we were here. Who the crap was that?
There's Grayson. Grayson's in the channel there. Excuses.
Yeah. So but I've had a lot of good times. This is my Monday ritual, and it's amazing. I speak for the group as we have our own private chat, and we're like, dude, it's Monday, man. We can't wait. We look forward to this all week to come here on a Monday just to have the fun and get to talk to you guys. It's really been a cool experience.
And before we get to the next person here on our list, we'll show a little bit of fun times. And we want to take a peek back before you all were with us at the way this campaign went. So this campaign actually started in July a couple years ago. And what it was is, at the time, Zoromir worked with me and Blaylock worked with me, and they caught wind of this gaming, and they were like, we want to play D&D. And I said, well, I have this other group that I'm DMing, but I'd love to do a one-shot for you, get your feet dipped in and all this stuff. So we got it all together, and I think we did it online. We did it with Hangouts and Roll20 and stuff like that. So we do this one shot. And I remember it like it was yesterday. The end of that one shot, there was this tiefling that was standing there, and he snaps his fingers, and the object they find burst into flames, and he's like, wait till you hear the rest of the story, or something like that. And I was like, that's it, guys. And it was like an hour after the session, when's the next one? The next day, when's the next one? We can't just leave it hanging like that. And this one, I was like, well, I'm DMing this other one. I don't really have time to run another one. So we did one here and one there, and it wasn't real serious. Well, the other group didn't make it, as what happens often in D&D. And then this group came through. So a one shot turned into a 2-year campaign, and we're not even done yet. So Miss Cannon. And actually, while Miss Cannon is here, we do have a little bit of announcement. Some big news is 7D Dungeons is now officially part of the Entertainment Geekly stream team.
Hey,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
We are so appreciative of these folks. It is just a great community of other streamers, and being part of them is such a big deal for us. We are over the top. I've hid it from these guys, so this is new for them too. There's our e-geekly glasses there, up there. We can't wait to see all the exciting things that come from being part of a little community there. So thank you for having us, and definitely check Miss Cannon out, Just Lacey, and a lot of the others that are out. Sorry, I don't have everybody's name. There's more. Ant House is part of that, who's providing our music tonight. Of course, Banter and Babble and Fanboy Tone and the Dude 79, all big parts of our community and the eGeekly team. So make sure you check those. I'm over the top. This has been kind of a dream for a while. So that's an exciting stuff. Anyways, that was my big surprise, guys. So
that's awesome.
Awesome.
So, all right. So after that, there we go. Fanboy. Let me give a little bit of moment here for Fanboy. Fanboy Tone has been pushing us since the beginning. Like when he heard we were playing D&D, he was like, you should stream that. This is back in Mixer. This was back in the Mixer days. You should stream this. Oh yeah, man. Like it's hard to believe, isn't it? It's been that long. And he's like, you need to stream this. And I remember I looked at him and I said, nobody wants to watch us. You know, there is much better out there. And he's like, no, like he pushed me. He had to shove me over the line to do that. Cuddles, I have something on that. Oh man, I'll bring that out here in a minute.
The OG camera.
Yeah, I have something on that. I actually took some screenshots. But he really pushed and pushed and pushed, and I was like, and I never thought streaming would be something that I would be into or that this team would be into. And I tell you, as soon as the community started coming in, I mean, we get excited now. Like you guys have no ideas. Like as you chat here during the session and the reactions last week with Zoramir and everything that was going on there, like it was really hard for me to contain what was going on watching you guys react to the story. It's such a rush. So he pushed and pushed and pushed. And now Fanboy is what I call one of my creative directors. So I actually bounce a lot of ideas off of him when I'm writing the material and story. So I'll give him a general idea and he'll be like, yeah, that's cool. But what about this? And then we'll go back and forth for like 30 minutes of just voice messages back and forth. And then the story gets kind of created from what we talk about there. And then he gets to see the actual live manifestation of that when they get to that section. So I really appreciate Fanboy Tone and all the help I get from him in that creative space. Because I'll get to you, Zoramir. I really will. I got all the time in the world. But
wait,
We
what?
got 3 hours.
What about me?
I'll get to you here in a
They
second.
almost had a riot last week in chat.
They did.
It was
But-
good watching chat.
What was funny is when we started this campaign, I always think big, right? So like it wasn't just a one shot. Like I'm going to create this island. It's going to be shaped like the head of a dragon. So you can kind of see that on our stream
That
right
is.
now. And I said, okay, that's what I want, right? Let me get that e-geekly. There's that e-geekly up there.
Do you have the original map?
That's what I go. So the original map, this is beautiful in comparison. And I look at it now and I'm like, God, I hate this. I could make it so much better. But let me show you where we came from. If you're watching on the stream, I don't have it for these
I
folks.
forgot about that.
This- This is the original
Nintendo. Yeah.
Drakenwald map.
Your 5-year-old got
So
it.
bad.
The same stuff is there. The only thing is there is I forgot to put the tag for the Dire Forest on there. But this was the original map. And the more we started playing, is that a Game Boy Color? Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God.
You got this in MS Paint?
I didn't. That's the thing. I drew it in one of the tools, but it was not the same one I used to do the current one. I just never thought, oh God, you're killing me, freaking Cuddles. Yeah. Grayson remembers freaking this map because I sent it out to these guys and it's like, oh God, this guy sucks. You know? But from that, we were able to take this and move it to what we have now, which is much better in comparison. Yeah. Grayson, and we'll get to that here in a minute, Grayson. When you came into the group, because we got some funny stories, and I actually got a little flashback for these guys here in a bit. But Zoramir, why don't you tell us about you?
All right, yeah.
Our famous rogue.
For now, until I think they'll make it through at least one more session, hopefully. Knocking on wood. Yeah, I mean, when we started all this, I didn't know anything about D&D. I didn't know how you play it, what's involved in it. I just thought it was just a bunch of people that sit in their basement. I had no idea it would be this fun. But here we are, 2 years later, still playing it. It's so fun. But yeah, like you said, we used to work together. I was in the Michigan office back when I lived in the lovely Midwest. And I think this whole thing started with a few of us sitting in the office saying, "Oh, you play Ark? We should all play Ark together." And I was like, "Oh, we should start a group message of people that want to play Ark." And then that just snowballed into all of these like-minded gamers, everybody getting together, playing fun games, and now this 2-year D&D campaign from wanting to play Ark.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all went and found help, and we don't play Ark anymore.
Good God, no.
Still have some dreams about it.
We may go back.
completely.
We always go back. We always go back at some point. But right now, we're really digging the Tribes of Midgard and Phasmophobia. Definitely. Cuddles, more bits. Thank you. Thank you for those.
Now I got to interject here. Let me give y'all a description of what happens when we play Ark. Okay.
Oh gosh.
All right. Well, we have Drastin who will get on there and then immediately find some fortress and has built it. It is 3 levels high. He has every dinosaur on the map except for like 2, which is usually the squid. And he's just looking for the whatever that big T-Rex is. What is that? Gigasaur?
The Giga. Yeah.
Now keep in mind, this is when we've like just progressed past a stick hut. The rest of us.
This is only a few minutes after we've said, "Hey, let's go play Ark." Okay, and then the next day I'll get in there and I'll be running around the island trying to find one home base. Okay, and I'll be dying from every stupid little tiny like dinosaur that could fit in your hand. Okay, again, and they're just watching and laughing. They're like, "You need help?" I'm like, "Nope, I got this. 2 days of me running around that island to find things.
Okay. And Flesh would come zooming by in his elemental armor, just like,
yeah, it's like, "Hey, you need a ride?" And he's on a wyvern, or no, was it a wyvern? It was a wyvern. Yeah, and I'm like,
I love the game. I can't help it.
Yes, Knee 2424 there in his Jerboas. Just a farm.
Jerboas.
He had issues.
He had the Jerboa farm. It was just cute little Jerboas, and he must have had like 200 of them.
Was it the Jerboas that crashed the game?
I think it was the slaughter.
It was the sheep slaughter. It was a sheep slaughter.
The sheep.
Yep.
Yes.
You used a wyvern and you bit like 100 of them at once, and it crashed the server.
Yeah, we were breeding sheep, and we just kept them all on breed, and there were so many sheep, and they were all trapped.
In it though, like you forgot to turn one off one night.
Well, and then
all the shit we had to go and
you had to
every day.
Trapped them. Yeah, you trapped them. We trapped them all in a little pen, so they just kept sitting in there. They got nowhere to go, so they were like, "Hey, let's go make more sheep." And so there must have been hundreds.
Well, then you had the colored ones that started popping.
Yeah, it was a blue sheep.
I think we just awoke something in that BKE.
No Ark.
And then we took a wyvern and we're like, you know what? We need to get rid of some of these sheep. They're like bogging down the server. Let's just go and let's just blow them away. Okay, so I took a wyvern and I said, "Goodbye, sheep," and the analytics of the server just spiked, and everyone's like, "Why is it so laggy? That's weird." And then I decided to eat the sheep, and then I was like, "I will take this one wyvern and I will eat hundreds of sheep, and then watch all of the meat come into my belly and all of the wool," and it promptly crashed the server, or at least it did. Very close. It did.
Yeah.
But back in those days, back in the pre-Ark days, when we started on Mixer, let me go over to
this. There's the camera with the overlay effect.
This is the thing. This is King Cuddle's favorite thing. So when I started streaming, I of course, having been goaded into this by Fanboy Tone, I was like, I'm not going to go buy a webcam because this isn't going to be a thing that we do. Like, it's not going to last. So what did I do? I found an old early 2000s video camera and figured out a way to hook it up. And that's what I was using for a webcam. As you can see, this screenshot was perfect because you can see the 1X SP EIS. It's a high 8 camera. So
oh my gosh. Oh, that's when we didn't even have all of our own screen frames either. We like watch.
Yeah, so back then we used Hangouts, and Hangouts didn't have a way to split the videos out, so we just captured one screen of the video. So as soon as somebody started talking, their picture would pop up and going through there. Oh yeah, Zach Dynamite. Zach,
No,
it's
Zach. No.
it would, dude. It's so scary. I still have it. In fact, Cuddles was like, "If you ever switch that camera, I'm going to unfollow you." And I think he did unfollow me for just a little bit when I actually got a real webcam. Because dude, the horns. I mean, I didn't know how to use anything. I didn't know how to use. At that time, it was slobs, and I was like, "Here is a canned freaking interface to use, and I'll get these." And I was happy I even got that far. Can any of you guys tell me where we were at in this map that we're showing on
this
here?
was yes, wasn't this in the desert?
This is Varsis Lair.
There it was. This is
Yeah.
Varsis Lair. Little did they know
Yeah.
everything that they were doing there impacted a big story overall. But
This was so, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
This is still one of my favorite little rooms here. I love the little colored crystals and playing with the crystals, dropping them in the water, seeing what the effects were, and then that we all completely forgot what they did when we got and
when you ran into them again.
Yeah. I knew the
So-
red ones were for health. That was about it.
So we took this, and then eventually when you guys when our community started building up, we were like, oh, we need to refresh this interface. We switched to Zoom, and we went to our second interface, and I was pretty proud of this one. It took some time. It definitely looked better than the other one. And now we had everybody on the screen now. This is when Rob had joined us. Nemoria, rest in peace, Nemoria.
For Memoria.
I'd like to point out this is episode 20, and Zormir still has the same background.
Yeah, I do. I like this background though.
Yeah,
Community, should I change the backgrounds?
There we go. Community. Should Zormir change his background?
Or should I change it in 2 sessions when I have a new character?
2 sessions and 6 months later when he can fit you in here again.
Community says no right now. You can keep your
They're
background.
already
No,
they're
he'll
already
be
on
dead. He'll be
suicide
dead.
again.
We'll be dead soon.
So
And
so
yes, I don't have a background because I bought a brand new laptop, and it does not support the Ryzen 3, but it does Ryzen 4.
yeah,
So
5.
that's why I don't have a background.
Yep, that was going to be one of my questions to tonight, because that's the big community question: is why does Arlo not have a background? But that's why.
I may change turn the desk around and then have the back wall maybe is, I don't know, get a 5-year-old draw me something.
So looking at this one, can you tell me where were you guys at in this dungeon map?
Oh, it's a hallway.
Is that in the
Yeah.
heart?
Oh,
No,
wait.
I know
no,
exactly
that's not
where
the
this is
heart.
at.
No, that's not the heart.
Was this where?
Oh, this is
Was
that
this the
stinking
Drippies?
tower. This is the tower.
Not the drippies. Was this one?
No,
Was this
it
when
wasn't
all the
tower,
like the 1,000
towers.
little flying critters came at us?
No.
Nope. Arlo, got a guess?
I thought it was underneath the heart tree.
Nope.
No, that was a nightmare.
So
This
of all
looks much
people's-
normaler.
Arlo should remember, because this was the sunken temple where you first
Oh.
met one of my favorite characters, which was Ishtab. I shouldn't say was,
Wait,
is.
Ishab was that long ago?
Ishtab was, that
gosh.
long ago. We're
I
on
was
almost,
thinking-
our next session that we play, I think, will be episode 80. This was 20.
Wow, I was
When-
thinking episode 20 we were still pre-Portstown.
No.
Wow.
We spent a lot of time in our travels from that Fort Tenebris to like where we are
no,
right now.
I am wrong. I am wrong. This is This is that cave. This is where the avalanche was.
Is this the knoll?
No, this
is
was
the
the
knoll?
avalanche. That big gray, the knoll area just south of Portstown.
Oh well, it doesn't
was?
look like but it doesn't look like a cave of the forest. So look at the walls; they're too.
Well,
steep.
Is that the avalanche where some dumbass shot a gun?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who could that have been?
It was a flare. It was
So-
a flare.
Thanks, Grayson.
This
The great
doesn't make it
thanks.
better.
Grayson reminded me. Yeah, he's right. That was the avalanche that was coming through. It looks a lot like the sunken temple.
That's right. That was the avalanche with that
Mhm.
silly thing coming back.
That gray thing behind you was the avalanche
Oh.
coming.
Right.
Yeah, that
Weird
was when
again.
we abused the ring of jumping, and I'm like, jump, jump, jump. and then Dresden finally said, no.
Enough.
Here's the jump mechanic. Stop doing that. Oh.
Yeah, we've had to tune some rules here and there as I learn things. I learn things all the time, for sure. Yeah. Well, that leads us to our next new player, Galtier. He just joined us a couple months ago. So Galtier, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
While ago.
Yeah.
I actually, so I don't work with any of them, but a good friend of mine does. And when they made the Apple
Easy
Gamers chat on, I think it was Discord first, actually, they add me to it. I did play Ark with them, and most of my playing Ark with them is, what do you want me to go farm? I don't want to do much because I'm not good at it. Or I would go capture griffins and then name them pantaloons.
Pantaloons. And just add more O's as they died.
I had several pantaloons, and several of them died getting us some wyvern eggs. But no, I played D&D with most of this group during a little bit after their one shot for a few episodes. I don't think you were streaming that.
You were,
but
he
I
was.
I was the bard.
What was the bard's name again?
I couldn't tell you.
It's probably something with a G.
No, it was with a U.
It was like Ulrich or something like that.
Yeah, Ulrich or something like that. He was a bard. Yeah.
And
also probably unpronounceable. Yes.
Most of my names are. It was not Uranus.
It was not Uranus, the bard.
But I couldn't keep playing because I worked second shift Monday through Friday. So I worked from like 4 p.m. to midnight. And it was atrocious trying to play games and do work at the same time, especially when I was about
wasn't that actually one of the reasons why you wanted to come to first shift so that you could play with us?
It was, honest to God, it was either give me first shift or third so I could
you
play.
onto first shift.
Yeah. I remember you playing D&D a few sessions at your desk, and you'd constantly be like, "Well, I need to go."
I'm like, I have to like, we are back, mute, because I had to. I worked in the data center at where I worked. So in second shift, I would take was it Ubish?
It was Ubish. Yep.
Ubish, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Matt. That was perfect.
Yeah, but I took help desk calls. So.
Cuddles, on that note, they are headed back to Portstown, so you don't want to miss that because you actually have an NPC in Portstown, which is I've been told from a few community members one of the favorites. So King is actually King Cuddles.
Oh,
that's why his name is King Cuddlesmore. That
makes so much sense.
You know, the real King Cuddles is a lot nicer than that jackwagon.
Yeah.
I
don't know what you're talking about. You get your ass out of here. You know what I'm saying? I got a whole town to run.
Yeah, I ain't got time to go and worry about your little concerns. See,
I think that mystery right there just goes to show the party's a great ability at puzzle solving.
It's so bad, and we make a lot of references to hiding under the table here. And let me give you a little background here. Well,
that was one shot.
Do you have the map?
Oh, do you have it?
I do. I do. Let me give me a second here, because there's other maps you're not allowed to see.
The legendary table where Zoramir hid under.
like I said, I didn't know what D&D was. Table
You
hide.
wouldn't happen to have in the map of like
There's an
you
atom
know,
bomb
the
falling, right?
Black Tower or
I have all the maps. I just have to
Castle
pull.
Vermilion.
They're
just kinda hanging
so
out there.
bad now, though. Like in comparison to the map tools we have
I
now.
remember that one looking good. I'm curious to see.
So here's one. Here's one of the first maps for Capes Vassal and the area around there. This was the original map I showed him.
Wow.
That was the city of Capes Vassal, and that was the dire forest.
That's a city, all right.
And basically, I was like, "Here's where you're at." You know.
Look at the scale of the wheelbarrow to the house to the fortress.
Hey,
Oh my God.
It's a big wheelbarrow, man.
hey, you have to.
There's a giant wheeling that thing around.
You gotta keep it in perspective. But this was the original house, okay?
There's the table.
There's the table.
So most of you have never seen that. Well, I don't think any of our community people have seen this at all because this was pre-streaming. So the party comes up to this house which is one entrance, and Blaylock, our favorite Minotaur, instead of going in the front door, comes over to this window and starts clearing it away to crawl inside this window while everyone else comes actually inside the house. What they find in there are some zombies.
No, I found a wraith. There's some kind of like specter or something.
You found some. It was like ghoul, I think, because pretty low level.
It was nasty, is what it was.
So Blaylock fails a lot of his checks. I know that's kind of a big surprise. It was worse back then. But he like crawls through this window and falls flat on the other side, and he starts getting attacked while everyone else is kind of dawdling through the house. As soon as Zoromir sees the first undead creature, he runs up to this table, and his first action is really it was his first combat action ever. He's like, I hide under the table.
Well, on my character sheet, it said one of the actions I could do was hide. So, like, I don't know. This is scary. I'm gonna hide.
He went and hid under the table, and not just for like a round. He was there for a while. As the DM, I'm like, they're all gonna die. They're all gonna die in here. It was.
Is it done yet?
I think there was like 5 or 6 of us. One of them was like a centaur who was
Horse
Breath.
Horse Breath was with us. We miss you, Horse Breath. Yeah, he was. Grovile was with us at that point. There was a bunch of, but he went and hid under the table. So when you hear the party reference to Zoromir hiding under the table, that's where these guys have come from. These guys have come from that an NPC conversation ranged from, someone saying, "What are you doing in our town? We've got a dark entity coming down the way. Can you defend this?" And they're like, "Yep." And that was the end of role playing. What happened last week with Zoromir and Grayson and Arlo and all these folks is so much better than what we started out with. Like, I'm just blown away at where this team has come in these 2 years, from hiding under the tables to that,
turning into a dragon,
to turning into something. I wonder if I have. We talked about Galtier. We're going to give a brief introduction here for Grayson. He's not here to really speak for himself. Grayson got introduced in a really interesting way. Their first dungeon crawl, that this party did, this was their first real dungeon crawl.
It took us like 3 episodes to get there too.
I was gonna say, should we have people guess how many episodes this would take?
Yeah.
A half an episode.
So this was literally their first one. There were orcs in each little bauble, and we'll get to this one right here. This is such a fun story. Again, if anyone has any questions for any of the players or for myself or anything about D&D or about a character or things like that, just feel free to put it into chat. We'll stop and answer. So they sneak into this camp. They fight the orcs, get into the tent, take a long rest, go to the next bauble, kill the orcs, get into the tent, take a long rest, and then as Blaylock went unconscious during that combo. Blaylock learned a very important lesson about Thunderstep during this.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a great question, Tricky. Tricky asks, what percentage of a game would you guys prefer to be role playing versus combat? And we'll go each person here. Myself, I prefer 75% role playing and 25% combat. For a DM, combat I think is boring. But I love the RP side. I love the emotion, and we can talk about some of our emotional things that have happened to us that just kind of blew our minds. But that's where I am. Blaylock, where are you at?
Well, you might not know this, but probably RP. I really enjoy the RP. The combat is fine, especially because Blaylock is so versatile in combat. But compared to what I can do with a stinking Minotaur Artificer, it's pretty great.
Well, the RP has to be the larger percentage anyway, because of how slow.
So shots are being fired. Roll to see if you get.
Let me tell you about this spell.
Yeah, and then the DM's just going, they know, just hurry up.
Come on, let's go.
I guilty.
And we've had it in chat for like 5 minutes and read it over.
All right, Arlo, where are you at? What is your split? Blaylock, give us a number first. What would your split be?
I think 70-30.
Okay, Arlo.
And see, I'm opposite. That's why I got a fighter. I love the hack and slash combat style. So I'm going to be like more 70 on the combat side.
Okay.
Again, like I said, Blaylock and Grayson are really good at that, and I'm not. So I mean, just point me in the right direction. I'll go hit and kill something.
Grayson, if you're still listening, just put your percentage in the chat. But Zormir, where are you at?
Zormir can be fun sometimes in combat. He doesn't have a ton of things he can do, but it is fun RPing some of his nimbleness into the fights of him moving through the foes. I don't know, I'm gonna say 67.5% RP and 32.5% combat.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's because Zoromir's combat all ends up like this. Okay, everything that he does.
Oh God. Oh man. All right. So Grayson's 50-50, and I can see that for sure. Well, Grayson has a unique character, and I really wish he was here with us, because he actually runs a monk fighter multi-class. And when I'm forced to play his character, I would rather dig my eyes out with a spoon than play that character, because it's like putting a Swiss Army knife in front of you and going, hey, you need to use all these things during the next round. and like, it's a great character, but whew, it's a lot.
It's a lot. Pain.
Yeah, we're in chat going, hey, do this. Hey, do this.
Yeah, because I'm only like juggling everything else. Galtier, what would be your split?
I'm actually with Grayson on the 50-50.
Okay.
I know how to run Galtier with the combat, but I am still trying to figure out how I want to play him in role playing.
Yeah, I'm gonna challenge you on that, because you do really well with the role playing. It's just you're so doggone polite. You don't want to talk over anybody, and you just wait. It's like, oh well, I'll wait until they're done talking. No, you gotta butt your little G name butt in and then go.
Your G name butt,
which is hilarious, because in real life I get told to talk over people way too much.
But you don't hear.
That's just from your wife, though. Because that doesn't count. Is from her.
Yeah. So after these 2 long rests, thanks for that question, Tricky. That was good. Keep the questions coming in. You see that there's this small circle. I keep pointing to it on my screen, like you guys can freaking see my hands. I'm a hands talker, if you haven't noticed. Okay, Cuddles has got one. As someone who's trying to get into D&D, what do y'all recommend the most for new people? Well, you need dice. I think all of us would say we prefer physical dice over digital
Oh, God,
dice,
yeah.
but digital dice are a good quick replacement if you need them, or
And
if it's roll
I like the
10d something.
A good
I like the
DM.
traceability of the digital dice, but
Yeah.
I'm really kind of sketch on the on how and how good they are. You know.
Well, when
Computers
digital's
keep me
rolling
random.
hot, everybody wants to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cuddles. That's a bit of an open question, as Grayson says. What do you recommend most? Because like you can recommend gear. The most important thing is finding a group of people that you can play with.
Feel
That's
open with and comfortable.
that's an yeah. Um,
Well, I'll speak as a DM.
Yeah.
It's really hard as a DM to try, because you got to be the one who's putting this stuff together, and it can be challenging. But then sometimes it's just like, okay, here's my party. They this is where they're at. Set up some plot points in there if they even get there, and just roll with it. If they go into some obscure like place, roll with it. Like our one shot last year. Was it last year? I mean, it kind of veered off, and then it pushed back into where it was intended, and and I mean that's just from a DM perspective, though, because that's the biggest hurdle, is getting someone to actually say, I will be the dungeon master.
Yeah.
There's that, finding a DM, finding someone who can be the DM, and the adventure books are really nice for guiding you. I don't recommend anybody homebrewing for their first time. Use an adventure book. It's going to take 50 to 60% of the work out of the DM's job. The other thing I would recommend for new players is, and I'll use this name because it's just synonymous with D&D. You're not Matt Mercer. None of us are professional voice actors. Right. None of us are professional voice actors. You don't have to do voices. I love doing voices. Some of them sound terrible. Some of them are good. I love the voice mod that I'm using now. It helps save my voice box so I can actually talk the next day. But you don't have to do that. And there, if you look up different things about playing D&D, there's two styles of D&D you can play. And I've actually talked with Galtier about this. I don't think it's shaming in any way, but one of them is you are your character, and that's what we do most of this time. Blaylock talks the way he does. The other one is you say, my character is going to say this, or my character is going to go and do this. You're not being your character, you're narrating your character. And there's nothing wrong with either way. It's just how you play it. So the number one rule that everyone has to remember when you're playing D&D is have fun. It's all about having fun, and you have to do what's fun for you. And if you go do something that's beyond the realm, your DM should be like, nah, or make some kind of consequence where you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, like handing a flesh golem a sentient weapon.
Right.
Looking at you, NE2424.
Okay. Tricky's got one. What we got? Okay, yeah, we got Arlo here. So Arlo, go ahead and let's give your thing on it.
So one of the things that from my perspective, being I'm probably the newest in the group, is the people you're playing with. When you are RPing in session and people get pissed off and you're RPing and pissed off, make sure it doesn't translate into real world. Grayson was like getting angry with me one night, and I knew it was RP, but I took it personal, and I asked him, I was like, y'all mad at me? He's like, no, that's just my character. And I'm like, I had to get over that. It was really it was a stumbling block that I had to get over. Okay, now if I piss him off, I just like, oh, he needs a hug.
So it's really important, and this has been a failure of mine in the past with other games that I've played with D&D. A post session is really important. After you finish playing, take 5-10 minutes, and at least if somebody's really pissed, they can say, dude, you kind of pissed me off, or that. But most of the time what we realize is that we were all just in character, and there's no hard feelings, and like it gives the DM time to kind of turn down and also address different things like, oh, hey, Galtier, you can't actually do that in combat, but it's cool in the moment. It's not game breaking, so we let it happen, but in the future, don't do that. So a post session is really good. I'm just going down in the line here.
Yeah, we
Tricky
got a few questions that are backing up.
this
right
is
now.
fantastic. Tricky, I was going to ask how much is planned and how much is ad-lib for the DM. A lot. So
on both sides.
uh-oh.
Grayson's on. Grayson's on.
Oh, Grayson's here.
Oh, he's in.
What the?
Oh!
I got to get him all turned on and get this.
He probably got pissed and left work.
Oh, hey, we're going there already. You got to get them all turned on.
Yeah. Woo, there he is. So a post session. Oh, I'm hearing myself from somebody.
It's me.
Here. Okay. Yeah, this is fantastic. Okay, so Tricky asked, I was going to ask how much is planned and how much is ad-lib for the DM. So as a DM, I spend 4 to 6 hours on a Sunday and I write the general theme of what is going on and prepare combat encounters and those kind of things. Typically, I try to think ahead of my players and say, okay, my players, after 2 years, I usually know about what they're going to do. They still surprise me a lot. And they're going to go this way, they're going to go that way. A lot of times I'll build it up and I'll make a large dungeon crawl, and that gives me a lot of time to write the next role-playing set of information, because you'll burn through RP notes faster than dungeon notes. Ad-libbing is probably 60%. It really is. Some of the stuff.
Didn't you ad-lib like 3 weeks ago?
I ad-libbed last week.
Yeah.
Like the whole conversation with Zormir and Quelladon was all ad-libbed. That wasn't planned out. That was just going on the flow. And sometimes I have to write notes because of stuff I've said. So it's definitely a split. For sure. Next one, or Mike, you said RP is something you have to get comfortable with, which is absolutely true. It gets easier the more you play. Absolutely. And you feed off of the other players. So and that's why as a DM, I don't mind doing stupid voices, because if it makes my players feel more comfortable to do a voice, let me be the idiot, you know? I don't mind doing Leo. He's our favorite guy, you know?
Love Leo.
The rest is reading up on what your character can do, and if you have questions, getting with your DM and changes you can tweak. The most important thing is if you like your DM, if you like him as or her as a person, for the love of God, know your character and what spells they cast and what they can do on a turn, and be ready to do those things.
I was guilty of that for a long time.
Yeah. You know, if you're a halfling, you should know what a halfling can do. And if you're a rogue, you should know what the rogue class can do. Because if the DM has to look it up, it breaks their concentration on all the other things they're juggling. So that's important.
The DM has a lot on their plate already.
Yeah.
So anything you can do to try and help the DM by making sure that you've got stuff ready, you know, the actions you're taking, you know, from a new DM perspective, there's a lot of stuff out there that people say, I'm going to use this. And I'm like, all right, hold a second. I don't know the grapple mechanic. Let me go investigate the grapple mechanic, or, you know,
right.
So, you know, that does help.
And
but that's not to deter people from taking on the role of a DM, because, you know, as long as your players know, it's like, hey, I'm new to this, and, you know, we're going to kind of like learn as we go. You know, and, you know, any help you have is great, but you know, let's try and we'll streamline that into a like after session. But right now I'm the DM, and then mistakes will be made, and, you know, we'll learn from them.
And I'm trying to keep up with all this right now. Another comment that Grayson made was also get with your DM to tweak things out. Just because D&D is cookie cutter on some things doesn't mean your DM, you can't come to your DM with an idea. I'll give an example. One of my friends may be in here right now in our chat listening. He played a ranger that wanted a gelatinous cube pet, like a little mini gelatinous cube pet. I think that's a fantastic idea of thinking outside the box. Does that fit in the cookie cutter raw format? Absolutely not. It's just not a pet that you can tame. Is it game breaking? No. Like, you DM sets up the boundaries and says, yeah, you can do it. If it makes it fun for your player and it doesn't break the game, DMs, let your players do it. It's all about having fun.
And yeah, they
that's-
still don't have a blip
Chris-
puppy.
That's the thing. Galtier still doesn't have a puppy.
All right. But it's things like that, like Scar. There was no Knoll playable
Yeah.
race. There still is no Knoll playable race. Out of all the stuff that they keep coming out with, Knolls just seem to be the one thing that they keep avoiding. Chris and I sat down and I laid out exactly what I wanted in a playable race. Then Draston went over it and he's like, overpowered. Come on, man. So we came to a compromise between what we did. And fortunately, where I work, there was a lot of gamers that go to cons that I just don't go to. And one of them took our final, well, it wasn't our finalized.
Pretty much our
it was
final
close to
draft.
being
Yeah.
final draft, and did roundtable D&D using that class. So we got feedback from a ton of people that were playing D&D at the con. She brought it
That's
back.
awesome.
She told us what kind of things that they thought were overpowered, some things that needed to be upped while other things needed to be lowered. And you look on D&D Beyond now with homebrew, and there's
Tons.
100 and something Knoll races, and none of them compared to ours. It's like they toss and turn what the monster manual had and been like, okay, now it's a playable race. It had no character, no depth to it at all.
And in general,
So-
they gave it like a 90-some% rating too. Like they liked it.
Oh,
So, moving on a little bit as I'm getting backed up. Cherry asked, "How do you get into your character mindset?" Sometimes it's hard. Like pre-session, these guys know when I'm not trying to break things because something technical is not working for the stream. A lot of times I'll turn on a song and it matches whatever mood I'm in from that day, and something that just kind of zones me into a mindset for what is going on. So I use music myself. Players,
Candles.
what candles? Yep, I don't have my
Candles.
candle lit.
usually tip back a bottle of acid too.
Right here, baby. Got it.
What about Grayson? The rest of you, do you guys do anything special to get into the mindset?
I know, that's for sure.
I find bringing just the dice tower out
I-
in of itself kind of is all right. We're in mode.
I feel like Grayson would just sit there and listen to like goth metal before he gets into it.
Head banging.
Come on now. Okay, so let's be honest here. I mean, Scar was meant to be unstable. That's just how we made the playable class.
And you left him with a sword piece.
That was a very important story arc that took quite a few sessions, and that, in my opinion, was the best place to leave that character
At the time, yeah.
at the time. But
This is good timing actually, because when I killed Grayson on the way back to Porch Town, you can just pick back up a Scar.
Oh boy.
and I want to make it clear, Scar really hated Zoromir.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a reason to
is
kill him.
mildly frustrated. But Grayson's based off. I mean, let's be honest. Grayson's just based off of Belmont from Castlevania. I mean, I just kind of went.
Hey,
I know this
watched
place.
that. I want to make a character like that. How can I do it? And yeah, I just went from there. He's just grumpy. He's drunk. He's all about killing the demons.
He is. All right, catch up on a couple of the other things. I'm way behind on chat. Tricky and Cherry both asked something. Where do you get character info, skills, all that? What do you recommend reading, researching to get your note before beginning noobs? D&D Beyond. I'd love if they sponsored us or something like that. But D&D Beyond is a great resource. God, if we would have had that as kids growing up and all this, I mean, it takes care of building your character sheet, all the information you need. Not to mention they have a very extensive forums, and any kind of spell or ability usually has like a comment section where people kind of put what they've done or how they've run it. Another thing that's good to do is if you really can't find a ruling you're looking for or how something works, just go to Google and type 5e and then ask your question, and I guarantee there's information on how people are using it of people much smarter than me.
Yeah, tons of Reddit. You go to YouTube and just put in, say you want to play as a certain character from one of your favorite shows or whatever. Usually you can find builds or what they would prefer builds to play that character, what they think is the best options. You know, a lot of times they'll go through levels 1 through 20 on, you know, I won't say multi-classing is the greatest. It's hurt Grayson in some aspects, but dipping into a level of something here or there, it doesn't hurt. But if you're going to do multi-classing, it's one of those you got to really look into the further levels, or you're going to miss out.
On top of that, there are 2 people I recommend on YouTube checking out. God, I got to.
A craft guide?
No, not the craft guy.
The craft guide to D&D.
I gotta get on here and look. I'll get the names here for a second. There,
Steve Sadowski.
Yes. What was his name? Steve? Is it Steve?
I don't know if it's Steve. I know it's Sadowski or something.
Okay, it's Sikorsky. He's an author, and while his is not just D&D based of this is how you play D&D, his is mindset based. How to play with different characters, how to deal with alignments, how to deal, if you're DM, how to deal with troublesome players, how the game is not DM versus players, because that's an important thing. You guys aren't against each other. It's, you know, a really good statement he made is a DM doesn't spend hours and hours prepping and writing just to intentionally kill all the players. That's not his goal. And the players shouldn't spend all their time trying to derail the dungeon master on purpose. You know, it's just disrespectful. Now, if they're truly are saying, I want to go this way because of this, that's different. But when they're like, I'm going to go left instead of right just because I know the DM hasn't prepped that, that's different. Seth Sorkowski is.
There's also, it's called DM's Lair, I believe, on YouTube. And he's been DMing for quite some time, like when he was back in high school. And he's got a lot of tips for just things like that as well. You know, what happens, you know, should I not TPK my party because they don't listen to me? Things like that. He's got a lot of interesting stuff too. And he does he has a lot of publications on adventures and stuff like that.
Well,
I don't always say Patreon, or what is it, Patreons, yeah. I don't support a lot of that, but I mean,
I'll put some of the links in our Discord if you want to stop by and check some of those videos out. I'll get some in our Discord. Moving on, because like I don't even know how far behind I am. Unless someone
did you have something about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say something about inspiration for Blaylock. I know that was a while back, but you know, with Blaylock, it's you kind of have to get out of your own skin in order to be able to think like Blaylock. Like, you know, there's a lack of wisdom in his actions there, and you know, but there's a drive, there's a curiosity. So being able to do something that you know is probably foolish, but is within character can be a little tricky. I'm speaking specifically about like the werefish as an experiment, you know. But there's a drive to know more about the universe and these gifts that he has, but he has like zero common sense.
So Cuddles, this one's easy. When are y'all going to start dressing as your characters? The answer is never.
Not even close.
I can't make a costume with a nose that big.
Nope.
Okay, Fanboy Tone has a good one here for each of us, and he says, "What is something each of you, DM included, that you know you need to work on personally as a D&D player, whether that may be RP, combat, understanding a rule?" For me, I mean, there's a lot I need to work on, honestly. A lot of mine is I have to fight the urge to railroad my players because I have a really cool story I want to tell and I want to push them down that road. But as a DM, I don't want to be heavy-handed where they feel like that's the only option. And I know sometimes I do that, and I really try to be better at not doing that.
Long, narrow corridors can get kind of boring.
Yeah. And I think I've gotten better at it the last few months, but I'm trying.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Blaylock, what would yours be?
What could I do better? Trying to I think trying to be able to not do what what I want to do, but do what Blaylock wants to do. Because sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I really want to go in here like the reliquary. Think about just a recent example. I really wanted to go into the reliquary, but but Blaylock had a lot of respect for Karzine, and he wasn't going to go stepping on that. So keeping in character and not just like not just the curiosity of the player, but the curiosity of the character. That's what
Okay.
That's what I need to work on.
Arlo?
Probably, well, Handboy, when I was playing the Moria, of course, I was still learning as a spellcaster. Grayson's always like, you need to hold on to your spells, hold on to them heal spells because you never know when we need them. And then right after we need them, and Fanboy's like, dude, are you going to heal sometime today? I thought we had a cleric in the group. And I was like, oh shit, yeah. So I kind of dropped the ball on that. But
what is that?
What is that?
That's the water temple where Ishtab was.
Wait, really?
Oh, okay.
That's horrible.
Uh,
From this vantage, it looks really bad. It looks so much better when you're zoomed in.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
This looks like a Zelda map from like Nintendo.
Yeah.
Dude, we've come a long way for map creation.
No, I'm not criticizing about it, but well, okay, I kind of am. But like from this vantage.
So yeah,
continue.
My biggest thing would be RP. Tone. I'm still trying to get into the RP, and it's tough. It's tough.
All right, Grayson.
I think my biggest problem right now is knowing too much, or I want to say common sense, and it's like I get where some of the so like the beef with Grayson and Zoromir. I've told James many times, just like I told Rob, if I'm pissed during the session, I'm not pissed at you. It's like I'm playing the character, and that character thinks you're a fucking moron. It's plain and simple. It definitely, I need to step back sometimes because I've been playing for a long time, and I think sometimes I'm like, I know everything, and I know I don't. I mean, there's times I'm texting Chris on the side like, what? Wait a minute, what the fuck? How this doesn't seem to be working.
I homebrew a lot. I have 2 pages of homebrewed items, creations, creatures, everything. So that helps keep Mike on his toes.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too is, I DM'd a long time, and Draston, when I brought Draston into the original group that I was in, it's very difficult when you start playing as a player character and what these things do. So trying to separate what I know as a person and a DM compared to what my character would know. With Grayson, we sat down and I'm like, okay, we know he's a monster and a demon hunter. And I chose the monster hunter background, which at the time I think was Unearthed Arcana. Actually, it probably still is. I don't even think they
I
brought it in.
Yeah, I don't think they brought it
But,
in. It is what it is.
We had to go through a list. I'm like, what are things that Grayson would know about certain things? You know, vampires, werewolves, mummies, demons. I mean, me as a character, as a player, I know a lot about all of these things. But what does Grayson know in his past studies? And sometimes that's difficult too.
Yeah. Okay. Zormir.
Notes and keeping plot points straight. Whew. When we started this, I didn't realize how long we would go. So at the start, I didn't take any notes. I'm like, I'll remember all this. It can't be that hard. Well, gosh, probably a couple months ago at this point, I'm like, we need to sit down and I need to get everything straight because I don't know what's happening anymore. So we went through all of what we had done and took historical notes of all of the major plot points. Still improving on it. A lot better than when I started, but notes are so important to take.
Very much so.
Sure.
How, without looking at the notes, all of you, and some of you just wouldn't know this, but mainly to Blaylock and Zoromir, can you tell me off the top of your head where your adventures began before you got to Cape's Vassal?
Oh no. I remember we came over on a ship.
Yeah, we were on a ship, and it ended up getting taken by orcs. And I believe we ended up being freed from the orcs.
We'll come back to that.
Sort.
That's not accurate, but we'll come back to that.
I know.
Did you just look?
I definitely didn't look at notes. But I have it in my notes. That's the important part.
All right. Galtier, what's one thing you would work on?
I'm terrible about the R playing part.
Okay.
Like we talked about Biddle. We mentioned this with Biddle a little bit ago that I don't like to interrupt people at all, including the DM. So there are times I want to do things with a character, and then Drastin will be talking, goes, okay, so you get through 8 hours of resting. I went, oh, okay.
Yeah,
you got to speak up. So that was a good one. Good one, everybody. Tricky had one here for each of you, and we'll try to do this one a little quicker. Which character, if you had to choose, would you want to be if you had to choose one right now? I don't have. I mean, character-wise, for me, I have a lot at my disposal, but
I would like to be a ninja with a ninja who has an accent like this that I would have to perfect, and it is inspired from dogs and cats, and I would like to be the furry ninja.
Okay, Arlo.
No more slow-speaking characters for you.
I just hope he doesn't talk that slow again. I think I'd like to play a giant character next time. Because we got Zormir who's tiny. I'd like to play something like a large, very large character. Yeah. Okay. I think my next character is definitely going to be spellcaster. I want to go back and try and work on playing a spellcaster.
All right. What about you, Grayson?
I've got a portfolio.
We have a lot of characters made up.
Free time. So I sit and I make all kinds of characters, and I don't know. Every time I choose a character to play, I think I go through 3 or 4 other characters that I could want to play, and I create all of them. And a lot of it is what speaks to me at the time. What campaign are we playing? What atmosphere? That's what good session zeros are for too. Is so you have a party full of druids or just a party full of fighters. I like to. There's a couple things I haven't played yet, so at this point, it's a toss up in the air.
All right, Zormir.
Missed the question.
Which character or class, if you had to choose right now, would you choose? I mean, you're probably the closest to rolling up a new one. So
I can't say exactly what I would play, but one thing that I've definitely been limited by is my options in combat with Zormir. So I would want to play some sort of spellcaster next.
okay. Galtier?
So we've joked about this several times. I really want to play a Barbarian Warlock.
Oh God. There is a multi-class for it, so
I know. I've looked into it a few times. And I know it's a giant joke, but I want to play it.
And then Cherry asked, out of all the characters we've done, which class race specials have been your favorite? So for me, one of my favorite characters is Old One Leg, and he's been in all the campaigns that I've DM'd in some capacity somewhere. Mike would remember him from the first campaign. He's always an old guy that hangs out near the docks. And we're cinnamon biscuits. I think you guys are on the right track. He's one of my favorites by far. Though King is like a real close second. But Blaylock, what about you?
You're talking about just the NPCs?
Anything. Player characters or NPCs. If you have a favorite NPC, yeah.
Oh, so is it just a favorite ability? So
ability. Do you have a favorite ability?
Oh well, I really like
Flash of Genius,
Flying Boots.
I have the ability to fly and not have to worry about breathing any air, and I really want to be able to utilize that. But I think I'm gonna die. I think the DM will figure out a way to kill me if I just, all right, peace out, and I just go straight up.
He just ascends into the heavens and finds out it's just been one big what is that Truman Show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hit like the glass ceiling.
All right, Arlo. Favorite ability, race, character.
My favorite NPC is Burn Patch.
Oh no.
Oh.
And your neck's dead.
His name is Burr and Patch.
We know
Burn
that.
Patch. Burn coat.
Y'all killing me. There's a pet peeve when you spend all these meticulous hours coming up with an individual name in 30 cities and things across an entire island map, and then your players butcher them because they know it gets under your skin.
Well, you didn't know it got you. It was Burr and Patch.
I can't help I blur my words together. It's just the way I am.
Uh-huh.
Half the time
when he talks to us through an NPC, sometimes we'll ask him, "Oh, so what's your name?" Just so he has to make a name up.
They do. They do. Grayson, favorite ability, NPC?
I think that the Knoll race that we created, we spent a lot of time on that. So I really like that.
Which you can find on D&D Beyond, by the way. It's released to the public. We've had, I think we're almost up to 10 people who are using it right now, which is pretty big considering the number of Knoll races that are out there.
Huh.
Zormir.
Shortclaw. I love Shortclaw. He was such a good NPC. Such enthusiasm and spirit for life.
The statue's built to him. I know. Galtier.
So I've only played, I think.
I was gonna say he's had a lot shorter time. Yeah.
Well, like I played 2 bards. I got forced into a role of a cleric one time, and it was awful. And then Galtier. And I think of the ones I've played, I like Galtier the most just because I really like who I base the character off of. And I think Tricky is the one who asked what we're going to cosplay our characters. I have a great silver sword and a steel sword in my closet for my character.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
There's just so many characters to play.
Yeah.
Good. We're finally caught up a little bit. Nice. Keep those questions coming. That rolled on for a bit. So for the rest of you, And for our community, this is where the campaign started. So before they met their first NPC, this is the story that I gave them. It seems so long ago since escaping capture and execution in the wild lands of Das Verana. Rounded up as animals for being different than the orcs that rule those lands, the group found themselves making an unlikely alliance. A centaur, a kinku, which was never allowed.
Why was Kinku's not allowed?
That's what I originally chose. You must have never gone back and fixed it.
I never went back and fixed it. Yeah, we'll get to kinkus here in a minute. Minotaur and a lizard folk captured and thrown into a pit for entertainment of the orcs. Pit against a deadly manticore, the orcs looked on and cheered as these unwilling participants fought for their lives. Little did they realize that in times of desperation, the need to survive outweighs any animosity that would exist between such diverse races. Weaving a spell of flame, the lizard man ignites the manticore while the rest of the participants assail it with all manners of bones and debris from the arena. In the moment of confusion in the crowd, the party makes a break for it as the centaur charges a weak side of the arena, bursting open the stands and sending orcs flying into the air. As the flaming manticore ignites the stands and begin attacking the orcs, the party makes their escape, raiding the orc supplies for weapons, armor, and supplies for their trip. They were able to flee to safety as they navigated the wildlands for weeks. Staving off hungry wolves and other voracious creatures, this unlikely band became uncertain allies. Their differences abound, but they are united by the common goal of survival. Eventually finding their way to the coast of the Permian Ocean, they secured a ship to foreign shores. The captain agrees to take them on board and transport them to the nearest city of Cape's Vassal for a small fee of a few gold pieces. Pooling all they had together, they met the price and now sail towards this new land. It's been weeks now, but in the distance a city appears on the horizon, a high tower that is clearly visible in the distance. Excitement fills the group as a chance for new life and new adventures await them as they approach the docks. 2 years ago, that's what started all this. Doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Jeez.
Nope.
Then
it almost ended.
It almost ended several times.
Text saying, "Hey, Scar,
yeah,
roll a lockpicking check because these people supposed to save you are all about to die."
So originally,
this is the first time Zormir died.
It was. So originally in this Wonders first dungeon crawl, let me get back to this dungeon crawl. We kind of got away with the answering some questions, which keep those questions coming in. Appreciate those. But we have more stories to tell from this early adventures that folks didn't get to see. When we got down to this little circular area, I can't forget this stuff because it's so great. There was a drake-like creature that was there, a pet of the orcs. And our lizard wizard, our famous lizard wizard, turned invisible and decided to go down and try to speak with it. It, having a very low intelligence, didn't know what it was there and just swatted its tail again and pushed him up against the wall. It was quite an interesting little fight there. But they started going down this narrow corridor, and Blaylock falls in a pit. And what was it?
Wait,
3?
That was here?
Yes.
Yeah, that was here.
3.
I almost died. The Blaylock almost died in that pit.
Yeah, because we couldn't lift him out.
Yeah. It was like 3 or 4 skill checks that you guys failed as a group with advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And you only had to roll like a 14 or something. It's not like it was high. So the party comes down, and at this time we had Mike set up that he was in this cage. They were going to unlock this cage and have a new party member. And I thought, that'll be good. They're all new players. Having him come in, it will help with the RP, will help with the, combat and kind of guiding them around. So great idea. So there's this orc chieftain that's there that's been lovingly called Garrosh, if anyone is a fan of World of Warcraft, because he proceeded to come down this narrow corridor and just start stomping people, to the point where I had to intervene from the gods, and I sent a message to Scar, and I'm like, you need to make a lockpicking check, because if you don't get out of this cage, they're all dead. It's all ended right here. Not goulash fanboy tone, garrosh. So in the occurrence of this, Zoromir did die. He died. And I thought, this is his first time playing. We're like 2-3 sessions in at this point. This isn't good. So graciously, I put an item in the chest that resurrected him, and they found a piece of the sword, and that's what kind of started their adventure out. This was such an eventful little village, and now you guys looking at it now, it would take you like 30 minutes to get through this, even with all the combat.
Swipe, done.
So you compare that. Let's bring up an in perspective here. Okay, so this is your first one, and let me find one here that you all remember so fondly. Gonna take me a second.
I like the variety of trees on this map.
Yeah. They only plant maples.
They all grow in the exact same way.
Orcs love maples, but how can we forget the 5-session dungeon crawl of the heart tree?
Goodness.
Rip.
Lost your mind. You've lost your mind.
To me, this is some of my better work. I loved this freaking arc, and I love this dungeon because there was madness that was going on. There was all sorts of, and it was my first homebrew monster at the end, which is the corrupted heart of Feynamar. Unfortunately, and this is a good segue in. This is where we lost Zoromir's brother, Alberon. He had fallen during combat, and after combat ended, the party just kept talking amongst themselves instead of running to check on him in any capacity. And I just kept rolling, and I kept rolling very poorly, and he actually died. And Arlo, I think you'll remember, I think all of us, the session after that happened was super emotional. We had the sad music playing. There was like this very ceremonious taking him to this elven city that you didn't know any about, and it was very somber and very emotional. It was crazy. It was, I think, the first time that we really, because I mean, we lost our lizard wizard several sessions before, but it was before we had started doing a lot of role playing, and it was like, oh no, he died. Let's keep going.
Oh well, that sucks.
Yeah, this
I think that was the first time Grayson really got on Zoromir and was like, the wrong brother died.
Yeah, because it was Grayson at this point. Yeah.
Zoromir was fooling around with the elves. And you got into
Hey, welcome, JBT Games. We had a little funeral, and I remember the after session, like it was really somber, like God, and like thinking about it the next day, I was thinking, man, this was just an NPC. Yeah. Like there was so much, because it felt like so much time was spent to try to find Alberon. There were these visions that were going on. There were different things. You find him. Zoromir was the happiest he'd ever been. He was like, oh, they were planning out what they were going to do and all this time, and then he dies. And I didn't write that in. Like I had
It was so charged, Zoromir's hunt for him too. He was like, screw everything else. We need to go find him. Like, he's here. We know he's close. We need to get to him.
Yeah.
And then the massive spike of emotion, of relief that he found him, and then just plummeting to the ground.
Didn't get like 2 sessions with him.
Yeah.
After all that. And
That's
it
where
really,
Memoria screwed up. That was one of my biggest
Yeah.
failures.
it was that, there were no heals going out, that kind of thing, but you were still learning the character. So we still learn as a group all the time, all constantly. I mean, there's sometimes I'll say, well,
you
that's how
gotta
this
think
works.
you got to think about this too. It was not only was this him learning Memoria, but this was right after Portstown, where he pretty much told his god to go shove off.
that was
powers.
that was
Yeah.
yeah, he did. He had his powers back at this point because he had Ishtab.
Well, he did, but
Yeah.
they were different.
They were different. But Tricky asked a question earlier, like, how much do you ad-lib? I never planned for Alberon to die. And if we look at my notes, I can look back and be like, after that happened, it was basically like, oh, have some sort of funeral for Alberon. And I was expecting them to be the players to just be like, okay, we have this, and say a few words. No, it was like an hour of real life time, and you guys
turned into
like
a whole thing.
I think this was the first time I realized, like, oh my god, where have these players been? Like, this is a lot of role playing, like, and you're sitting there and everybody's going up and they're whispering stuff in Alberon's ear, and they're making these speeches. Blaylock starts humming a song, and I'm like, what's going on? Blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it. And since then, I used to plan that, hey, here's some RP that's going on. I can expect X amount of interaction with the players. Now I write some notes and it's like, these guys will drive this. I don't have to goad it at all. Like, you guys do such a good, fantastic job of pushing that narrative now that, I mean, I know we're not even close being done with, well, we're getting closer to being done with this campaign, but campaign 2, it just, man, so much drive forward.
And you see that map, I think it was King or maybe Tricky, you guys were asking what needs to be done as being new. That map, it looks like that's not very big on there, but see this, I actually have to take notes, because if you don't write down the map, you're going to miss something, a nice chest that may have something nice in it.
Yeah, that map, let's see,
It was
I think
crazy.
Well,
it was 4 ways, but we had 9. We had to get 9 things unlocked to get the last door unlocked.
I think even to this day, that's the biggest map I've done for you guys.
Is it bigger than Under the Mountains there in the
Uth Melanon? Yeah, it's definitely bigger than Uth Melanon. Okay, so when I build these maps, they're done in, each square is a unit. And this particular map is 78 units wide by 68 tall. I did a bigger one than that, but it's not as many rooms, and it's the Heart Tree. The Heart Tree was 132 by 122.
Oh.
But it was more like big
spread out
circles, so it wasn't nearly as daunting as that one was. So yeah, this looks big, but I mean, you're talking like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters right beside that staircase. That staircase would encompass all 5 characters. So when you're looking at it at this point, and that's where it gets in, like, for me, I draw something out and it's like, okay, this room's going to have this room's going to have that. This is the main theme here, and it's all to get like this door open so they can get in here. So it takes me a bit to get this stuff going, and then they just play in that world once they get there. But they could easily be like, yeah, I'm not doing this, and walking out. But my favorite, let's do this, because we talk, like, most of us are at least 50% or above on the RP side. my favorite moment so far in the campaign, RP side, was the Lenoris Vey, the vampire king. That whole ending thing there with Grayson and the vampire king's kids. That whole scene was probably the biggest, my most favorite moment of this campaign. But Blaylock,
really
what would be yours?
Well, it may be just because it's recency bias, but I loved the interaction with Karazinin, where Blaylock is just staring at the armor, and then knowing what the answers are going to be, he just starts asking questions about who Karazinin's origins are, and not looking at Karazinin, but staring at the armor kind of somberly and not liking the answer, which I hope that was expressed there. But I really liked that moment where Blaylock kind of figured that out.
Oh yeah. Arlo?
I got a couple. Yeah, like Blaylock, this was just recently. It was when Z and I went in and went drifting. That was, man, that was an emotional wreck for me. For those of you that know what's going on in my family over the years, that was just an emotional. Wow, I those tears in there, those were real. Those were real tears, and so that was like, it was one of those RPs. I get it, that I knew what I could do there, and one of the other ones were, it was when Nemoria died. That was tough. Just listening to the RP of the guys and whatnot, and so yeah, that was one of my other favorite parts, along with meeting Ishtab for the first time. Just because everybody loves Ishtab, and now he's a dick. So
he was always a dick. Grayson, what would be one of your favorites?
I would have to agree with you. I think the Eternal King and Grayson doing the whole final "It's time for me to die" speech, that was really good. But I also like the fact, because I tried to put a lot of emotion into the Scar trying to talk the brothers, the two Knoll tribe brothers,
to
get back together. That was a lot there.
Yeah. Porchtown, we were talking about this. I think it was me and Zormir were talking about this the other day. Porchtown is like really where the RP started. Before then, it was very light. And then it started ramping up with what happened in the Jagatee Spires with the Knolls. And then it just kind of escalated from there. It's noticeable if you go back and watch the campaign and those kind of things.
Yeah, we went from
just so
spending
you
a
know, I
session
don't
in a
always
spot.
play a dick.
Yeah, he doesn't.
don't?
He doesn't. He does not always. Zormir, what would be?
Yes. I forgot.
The Tabaxi.
Yeah.
I have a few. Probably, I mean, the obvious one is the whole arc of what we were just talking about with Albrand, and the culmination of that in the Hearts Tree. But also, I mean, naturally loved Cider Point. That was just fun to play as Zormir in absolute heaven.
So great.
One of the sessions that came out just couldn't stop laughing from was I think it was with Melanon, where Zormir thought he had lost the entire party and was running around in a circle in the
Yeah, it was with Melanon. Yeah. Grayson was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, when all of us were and Grayson's just sitting there watching us.
What did you do to them?
That was great. I forgot about that.
That was a great episode.
And Galtier, I know you're new, so you've only got backlog for so much. So what's yours?
There's really nothing I could think of when you guys are talking about everything.
That's fair. You still got a lot to experience. And I'll say this about Galtier. we talked about him joining the campaign months before he did.
Yeah.
So when you have a new
like
player,
5 months.
there's always a bit of reservation when you're adding new players to a campaign that's been so consistent as ours. Like, you want to make sure their chemistry is going to fit with the chemistry of the rest of the group. You want to make sure they understand about their character and the commitments of streaming every week and doing all that stuff. And then they also it needs to make sense where their character comes in. So months and months before, I'm like, hey man, it should be like a month. And I think this is what we're gonna do, and this is where you're gonna come from, and all this stuff, and it weaved into his backstory and all that. Little did I know that the players were gonna spend so long in some of these places, and I'm like, sorry, man, like I'm not blowing you off, but
Didn't bother me any.
yeah. King Kettles had a question: how hard is it missing an episode and picking back up when you come back? It's terrible.
That is hard.
It's hard.
So, as someone who has done that numerous times due to work obligations, it's very key, and I've even brought it up to the guys here. It's like, if you miss, you have to watch.
Yep.
You
Absolutely.
can't just
Yep.
miss a session and be back the next week and be like, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm doing this. No, you have to be knowledgeable about what, and it's not the other player's job to tell you what happened. I mean, we're all friends, so we, and we got our own separate chats and stuff with each other, so we kind of keep each other in the loop. But it's like, and Dresden said this earlier, playing Grayson is a chore. There's just so much to do. So when I'm missing, when I was in the hospital with Jess for the pregnancy, I'm sitting there trying to text them what's going on, and they're trying to tell me what's going on, because I couldn't watch the stream at the time, and it's just like going back and rewatching it. I'm like, oh, Dresden, you should have done this. Why didn't you do this? Grayson would have done this. So, fortunately, I did get some input in there to some of the guys while they were playing, so certain things did happen. But yeah, it's very difficult, especially with, like why we took this, since I wasn't going to be able to play tonight. We got to a certain point, last session was very intense, period. With Grayson finding out that Zormir's playing around with this evil entity that his family has already killed, and not having some of the other party members realize that that's a big thing for Grayson. Grayson is pissed. I mean, I think I portrayed that very well.
Yeah, I think that came through.
So for me not being able to play tonight and trying to have Chris run with that,
I couldn't have done it. I wouldn't have been able to do it justice.
so it's very difficult.
Yeah, because they introduce a lot of new characters sometimes, so it's why it's so important. Because if you met, especially if it's a lot of RP, and you got to go back and new towns, new characters, NPCs, you just got to know what's been said and what's going on for the storyline.
And this is the same thing that goes if one of our characters died, like when Nemoria died. Rob was still here. We had his panel blanked out, but he's still here. We still require that the person shows up and sits in the session while we're integrating when that character can come back. So that is definitely a thing. And to clear up a nasty rumor, Zormir was not locked in Pika's basement like we originally thought.
Oh, is that when I wasn't here?
And that's when we forgot
You
that
weren't answering the phone.
he was out roughing it, so there was no cell service. So he got to come back to civilization with 100 messages going, "Where are you at? Are you okay?"
You're alive.
So he was not in Pika's basement, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Tricky asked, "What is one thing you've always wanted to do in D&D but never been able to?" This one's easy, and this may speak for Mike as well, but I don't know about the rest of you. We'll have everybody speak. Get to level 20 and finish a campaign.
Like both of those be matched, or one or the other?
Either. I have never been a part of a campaign that actually finishes, whether that happens
Oh,
at
yeah.
level 20 or before. It's
I
so
would
rare.
say
It's so rare.
This is level 13 is the highest I've actually played in any single campaign. I normally either the campaigns have faded, people have moved, or whatever, but I've usually never gone past level 7 on any characters that I've ever played.
Yeah. And our characters start at level 3, by the way. For if any of you in the community have not got a chance to watch the getting started video that I did a couple weeks ago, starting at level 1 or level 2 is BS. Don't do it. Don't waste your time. If a stray rock hits you in the head at level 1, you're dead. Like immediately dead because it's double your hit points. So this campaign,
I don't even think that should be a thing anymore. It should
No.
it should start at level 3, period.
Yeah, level 3 is the best start. Level 1 is like you're just a peasant. You don't even know what you're doing. So,
You're a newborn baby roaming the world.
yeah, you'd have to level up twice the first like campaign. But
That's Fallout 3 right there.
all right, what about Blaylock? What is one thing you've always wanted to do in D&D but never been able to do?
I've that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. Rewrite the rules for how they manage long rests.
Or jumping. Yeah, rewrite the rules for jumping.
Jumping.
Yeah, honestly, if now that I've always wanted to do, I've always wanted to kind of play a bard. I really like the idea of playing a bard.
It take a bit to get going, but once they get up there, they are a force to be reckoned with.
They just look so cool, and I've got so many ideas for a bard. I want to play bard.
All right, Arlo, what about you?
I don't have anything.
All right, Zoramir, Galtier, either one.
I mean, this is my first campaign, so the world is still my oyster on what I can try in D&D. We'll go with trying to be a DM, which
There you
I'll
go.
get to check off the list soon enough.
In a month, a little more than a month.
Yeah.
So when we do our in-persons and you know have the supplied gas masks for that,
Necessary.
what we do is we have somebody else DM. So last time Blaylock DM'd, and this time Zoramir is going to DM. The key is that I don't.
It gives him a chance to do something besides manage everything.
And it gives everybody, I think everyone should experience DMing in some capacity at some point because it teaches you a lot about how the game works. And at least we have so many people that have DM now that if you don't really, new DMs don't really have to worry about the questions or mechanics because we have so many backseat drivers that we can say, that's not how that works. You know, so Cuddle says, Can you D&D as ghost hunters where you buy 4K in gear and make $150 when you find the ghost? I mean, you could.
This is D&D. The ghost is always going to kill.
Yeah,
That is true.
Now I will say the top part of, I mean, the Elven arc in general is my favorite arc that we've done so far. But the top part of that tree with like the kid ghosts and all that stuff, so much fun. There was a lot of
taking toys.
There was a lot of horror creepiness, and I have a whole source book now for it. So if I'd have had that back then, Ravenloft's guide.
Right?
Oh God, you guys.
I mean, even running Curse of Strahd for the other group, you know, it's like this takes that to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah,
whole nother level.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's good. It's good.
You're afraid of Strahd the vampire? Nah, there's a headless horseman that'll decapitate you in one fucking hit.
Yeah.
You're dead. Game over.
Where was it? There was a map I was going to open up here.
No, I have one thing I want to do in D&D
go
that I
ahead.
still haven't had a chance to do. And
What's
this
that?
literally stems from the first character I ever made. Get an animal friend.
Here we go again.
Oh yeah, you missed out on having the animal
No,
friends.
I'm serious.
How many towns have we been in?
My bard was geared towards animal friends. I had like the animal, a couple traits that would let me befriend them.
I see UI in my Telsahen.
I did.
Stealing him from you.
I'm not. I mean, oh, here's a good one that you guys couldn't forget.
I forgot.
Oh yeah.
Remember
We
the
still
ports,
are missing some stuff in there.
the Portstown Wizards Tower?
Wow, Zormir did such a good job lockpicking those doors in
No.
that top room.
Worst.
You
Didn't
ruined-
isn't this the
you
location where
ruined
Blaylock lost
all
his
the
horn?
locks.
By
Was
the
it?
way, since that came up, you might not know, but Grayson's actually a really accomplished artist, and we've got some stuff that's coming. This is going to be one of the new shirt designs that comes out that he drew up for us, and you have to see this because it's fantastic.
Awesome.
But this is one of our shirt designs coming up. Worst thief ever. That's Zormir there, triggering every trap to get to a chest that he doesn't check for traps and just opens up and blows himself up. So I can't wait to get this on a shirt. I'll definitely be getting this one on a shirt. He also we're not. Let's show a little bit more of your work since we have it here. I'm not going to show the one you just did today because that one's later. But here's
That's
Grayson.
awesome.
So he does really, really good stuff.
For hero pose.
But on top of that, Cuddles has a question. If you beat the campaign, do you start a new one with the same tunes? You do not. You can. There are campaigns that are based around high-level characters, but typically what happens is the campaign has a particular theme, a particular goal. Once that goal's accomplished, that ends that particular session. You'll do one more session if there's not enough time, where you kind of, what are you going to do? You've beat the big bad evil guy. Peace is restored to the world. Are you going to settle down in Cider's Point, or are you going to settle down in the Arnathian Plateau? Are you going to go searching out for adventure or whatever it is? We do kind of that closing cinematic of the movie where, happily ever after, or is somebody burying your corpses or finding it so many years later because you all died during that.
And end of civilization game type style where we won. All right, time to nuke the whole map.
Yeah, and Fanboy brings up a good point. Like, I love adding former NPC or former playing characters as NPCs into the campaign. So if you remember back to Portstown, you have Nadani in the bar. Nadani is probably my favorite character I ever played in a campaign, and it was in Grayson's campaign. He was a warlock with split personalities, and this is one of those ones we talk like, hey, talk with your DM because you can do some really cool stuff. And he actually had two personalities, and when a certain condition would be met, one personality would take over the other, and he would actually have me switch classes. So I would play as a different class when that personality switched. And one of them,
Blood Hunter.
It was a blood hunter and a warlock.
Yeah.
And they constantly like combated each other, and then they finally, like, one patron kind of pushed them together where they could talk to each other in his head, but the party never knew which way he was going because one personality was good, the other one was not so good. He was
they knew what each other did as well. So like, if the party thought they were talking to one of them, not the evil warlock, all he'd have to do is be like, yeah, I remember that conversation, and he'd go with it. And he always got advantage on deceptions because technically he had the information because it was the same person. Just
playing Jekyll and Hyde over there?
Kind
It
of.
wasn't Jekyll and Hyde, but it was
I don't know how to explain
what's the Stephen King one, The Dark Half, where it was like the writer, it was like a twin that got absorbed in the womb, and like one of them came out as his personality. I mean, it was the same guy. It was just kind of like that.
That's a really cool idea, though. I kind of want to play that.
I had a lot of fun with that character. I was I was definitely a big fan of that. But he's an NPC in Portstown now. And he's dropped little things like, he's from Barovia and that thing because it was Curse of Strahd and all that. So I love putting those characters in there. So that's one of the things you can do is just put the NPCs. We've talked about campaign 2 and where it might happen and in what time frame, but that's a whole nother thing. But typically you're going to roll up new characters and go from there. So Matt asked,
campaign 2 is going to be the great heist that nobody knows what was stolen from all the,
the halfling heist.
Halflings. Yeah.
Matt asked, have you thought about doing other games to include more community like Jackbox or Among Us? It would never be Among Us because I'm just not a fan. I don't get the hype. Jackbox is a perfect solution. Like, I love Jackbox and I have it. So we definitely should do a Jackbox night, like on a Friday or something. I think that would be fun. I'm a big fan of those party games. I know
That
King
one
Cuddles
works well
does
on
those.
Discord.
Yeah, and Jackbox works well in Discord and it's easy to stream and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jackbox, there's the delay. Never thought about that.
That's why I suggested Discord.
Some of those games are better because they don't, the ones that are non-timed, like rap battles and different things. So yeah, for sure. I love this picture.
I do have to get going. It has been a long 5 days for me. I'm tired.
No problem. Let me get this up over
thanks
here.
for coming by for a little bit. That's awesome.
Yeah, glad to have you.
That's why I got on the chat when I could. I was like, I'll sit there and chime in a little bit, but I got home, ate dinner real quick, and
yeah. Did Grayson know about the announcement?
I think he saw that.
I did hear that. Yes, I did saw that.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, pretty much I've got character pictures, profiles on everybody except for Arlo and Galtier.
Yep.
But me trying to find time to draw
it's possible right now.
It's not impossible. It's just tough.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help that a new baby and everything. I'm trying to get family time in too.
New D&D player, you mean?
Yeah.
Level 1.
Definitely level half. All right, bud. Thanks for coming by for sure.
Yep.
Later, bud.
Have a good night, man.
Hey, bud.
And all right. I'll get this back so we get normal again.
Oh God, tricky. There's a lot of classes you can choose from.
Give me 1 second, Trick, and I will show you. There we go. We don't want to hear double me.
We need to fix our cameras.
Nope. It should all be good because he's always the last one.
Okay.
Let me pull up some D&D Beyond, and I'll show you what I can.
Oh,
There's what?
there's 12 according to.
The advantage page.
No, we're not going to the encounter page. Give me one moment. As
D&D Beyond also has a randomized character generator you could use. I've played that a few times just to see what it makes.
Can we hear me now? Yeah, it's Chrome eats my system resources. So once that loads up.
RAM.
More RAM. I probably could use more RAM, yeah. So let's get back. How many classes are there to choose from? So let's look at. So here we are. We have Artificer, which is what Blaylock is. And we have Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. And then if you have the Critical Role content enabled, you also have Blood Hunter. Now, these are just the base classes. When you get into those classes, there are subclasses to all of them, and there's several. Wizard has 9 or 10. Bard has 6 or 7. Artificer only has like the 3 because it's the newest official one. So there are several to pick from, and it all gets down to like finding what you want to play as. Get the base feeling. Do you want to cast spells? Do you want to be martial? And then you can kind of look in each one and see what you want to play.
A little background when I made Galtier. Initially, I was like, I want to play a Blood Hunter because the class sounds awesome, but I was gonna go with the one that could transform into a werewolf. And I was talking to Drastin about. He's like, first off, I was like, I would actually prefer you not to do that because it is hard to figure out all the abilities with it. And second off, Grayson's a monster hunter.
Yeah, changing into a werewolf. Can you guys imagine that? We got Zoromir changing into a dragon, and then Galtier who would change into a werewolf on command. And
that party members down.
Grayson would be mad.
Grayson would split into 2. Wouldn't know which way to go.
He would just multiply.
But there's a lot of options, and that's why it's important to talk to your DM to see what's allowed and what's not allowed. Our character creation video kind of goes through all that stuff. There's so much here because it's all organized well. You got classes, you got your spells, races, and all those things. I think I've got most of the races unlocked, and there's like 30 or something like that. So there's several to pick from. Sources, I have almost all these books. I have all the source books and then a couple of the adventure books as well. So definitely a lot there. And then your collections. And let me show you my encounters. No, Zoromir, you don't get to see the encounters.
Oh. Just click it. 1 click. Boop.
1 click. My homebrew creations.
Hey, honeyboo, homeboo.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of homebrew stuff there. Hard to see because I keep moving it up and down because you can't see it all. But that's just page 1. There's 2 pages. Some of those you guys never got to see.
I saw something of Ishtab.
The Bauble of Ishtab, that was Nemoria's legendary weapon. So for my players, something I did in this campaign that I probably won't do in the next campaign because it's the work involved, is they all have a special item or condition in some people's cases that grants them special abilities, and they work on those while they rest. That's where Leo came from. That's where Quelladon came from. So everyone has a little thing that they can work on. And the idea was like, give your players something that's interesting for them to do in downtime, something that helps make them better and they don't have to worry about swapping weapons. But it's a lot of freaking work.
And
Fanboy says it's worth the work. So it is until one of them dies, Nemoria.
Rip up all those pages. Hey, Fanboy could probably do that on the next campaign. He could be the guy to do all that.
He could create all the special weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fanboy. Yeah. I think you just got volunteered to write my sub document.
Yeah.
Awesome. There's gonna be a message incoming.
There's gonna be a message incoming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does it say I want a puppy?
Yes.
Where's the message coming into?
Signal.
Okay.
Fanboy, when are you gonna get a character to join us?
Yes, episode.
One thing we want to do before the year is out is we want to do a community one shot. Grab a few names from the community, and we'll do a one shot and let new players play some D&D.
10-4. That would be cool to have a community one shot. That would be kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been asked for quite some time. There's just some logistics that's got to be worked out for that. Obviously, a separate Zoom and all that, and if we do the same amount of players, it's not too bad. So, oh Cuddles, oh Cuddles. Are you into the natty ice right now, Cuddles? Give them all voiceover soundbite as a channel reward. Can you record your own audio for channel stuff? Because I could do some Leo and different things.
That'd be cool.
Be fun. That way, when we're playing Phasmo, somebody can scare us with, "Hey, it's me!"
Or you could just have Yoshi bark from the corner.
Yeah. Well, but that's kind of the campaign and where we've come from to now. I think that's, God, that map is just terrible.
I love it. I love how cartoony it is.
Game Boy Color was the best description.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let me go ahead and turn. Oh, nope, weren't supposed to see that one.
What was it?
Oh, I see it. I saw it.
Oh, there was.
Thanks, Twitch delay.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's early for us, but this is kind of a rest. I think that's going to be it for us tonight. I can feel my voice straining as it is. Is there anything that you guys, you players, want to say to the community before we sign off?
I'm kind of honored.
Yeah,
I'm kind of honored you all still enjoy, seeing us go around and have some fun with D&D.
Absolutely. I just
a blast.
I'm like, they actually like us. That's cool.
I feel like a superstar.
It's so much fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely appreciate all the love and everybody stopping by and the subs and bits and everything that have come in. Zormir, we'll miss you.
We will miss you.
What's that supposed to mean?
Definitely not foreshadowing.
Z does have this weird cult. Like, it's a weird place because we were talking in our post and it's like, he really hasn't done anything bad.
Mm-hmm.
But what's inside him is not good.
But what's inside him also hasn't really done anything bad yet. Yeah.
Except for destroying an island.
The tooth is innocent. The tooth hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
I'll just say, if the community has enjoyed what you've seen the last few episodes, everything's starting to ramp up story-wise. You're not going to want to miss the stuff that's coming.
Mm.
This is going to be a great
I'm taking my laptop from in Colorado. I'm going to try so hard to at least be on for an hour or so.
Yeah.
Just do what I did.
Pardon me?
Plan your everything around D&D. Go on vacation after D&D ends. Come back the day before.
Well, it's the
son's work though, right?
Son's wedding. So.
Yeah, Tricky. I appreciate that. Everyone puts in a lot of work and it's great. It's great, and we appreciate, like I said, the bits, the subs. People have stopped by the merch store and gotten coffee mugs and shirts and different things. It means so much to us. Pika's basement needs Wi-Fi next time, is what Cuddle says. So
that's hilarious.
We never would have expected all of this, and much love to the Banter and Babble community and the Cuddles community and eGeekly for having us as part of the team, and it's great. Don't forget, we're not here next week, so there won't be any games or anything being streamed or anything. I'm out. we will have some games this week. We'll get something on there, either Phasmo or we'll try to do some tribes since we've been.
Everyone can hop on with us as we try to get the
Berserker.
the hunter.
The hunter. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If we got 10 people, we'd be able to knock that hunter out pretty quick.
Everyone picks Seer and then just run.
Yeah. And Fanboy Tone, don't forget to, if you're not following him, follow him. He does some streams from time to time when he's not doing B&B. B&B proper returns this Thursday, throwing you off a day. Usually it's Wednesday. It's Thursday this week. So, and you can always catch Cuddles in our Discord, and he's streaming. Well, you want to catch Cuddles is on Sundays when he does his wrestling stream. It is a hoot, and it's just good entertainment as the wrestling guys video game are all on AI, and he creates characters of us all. I'm on there, and he's talked about maybe getting the rest of the 7D crew as characters on there. So that's, yeah, there he is. We got a shout out for him there. WWE 2K19. So this has been fun. We will do more of these in lieu of skipping when we can. We'll do some of these. I'll be doing another, and we'll get some of these guys to assist. We're gonna do another instructional stream, just how to do combat, because there's a lot there. So
Oof.
yeah, so we'll talk about that in our instructional video. Until next time, again, all the love to you all, and thank you for coming by tonight. Your questions were great, discussions were great, and we'll see you in the dungeon.
Take care, all.
Later.
Take
See ya.
care.
Till we meet
Come with
again.
me and you'll see.
Soon may the weatherman come.
Big
Wow, that was just
turn
switched.
me and rum.